Think Rich Thoughts: How Mental Shifts Bring Financial Results. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. If your thoughts had a bank balance, what would it say? Would it show a surplus of belief and vision, or a deficit built from fear, doubt, and limitation? Most people chase money with exhausted legs and a cluttered mind. They hustle hard but think small. They budget every dollar yet bankrupt their imagination. They ask how to make more, but never pause to ask why their thinking keeps them stuck in the same loop. Let's get one thing straight: this is not about manifesting yachts by whispering to the universe. This is about renovating the way you think, down to the studs, so that your mind no longer leaks opportunity. Because every financial outcome is first a mental equation. And rich isn't a number. It's a mindset. T.D. Jakes once said, "If you can't handle the struggle of your mind, you'll never handle the success of your life." That's what this book is about, mastering the mental struggle that holds your financial potential hostage. You won't find vague affirmations here. You'll find precision tools, reframes, habits, and mindsets built to dismantle scarcity and install abundance. We're not chasing a fantasy. We're building a foundation, brick by brick, belief by belief. So if you're tired of thinking small, spending blind, and settling for survival, this book will teach you how to think rich before you ever touch a dollar. Because when your thoughts start compounding interest, your reality has no choice but to follow. Let's start with the most dangerous thing in your wallet: the thoughts you carry without questioning. Chapter 1: The Invisible Wallet. You were born with a wallet no one told you about. It didn't carry cash or cards. It carried conclusions about money, success, self-worth, and what's possible for someone like you. Before you ever earned a paycheck, you inherited a philosophy. Not from a textbook, but from overheard arguments, empty bank accounts, and the subtle sighs of stressed-out adults. These moments, seemingly harmless, formed your internal money script. And that script became your operating system. You don't spend from your bank account first. You spend from your beliefs. The person who checks their budget 10 times a week but still ends up broke isn't financially undisciplined, they're mentally misaligned. They may be tracking numbers, but they're still thinking in fear, lack, and reaction. So even when money shows up, it slips through their fingers like water. Why? Because they don't feel safe holding it. That's the thing about invisible wallets: you can't deposit more than your mind believes you're worthy of. And if your internal limit is set to just enough, even abundance will feel like a threat. Think of your mind like a thermostat. It doesn't measure how hot the room could be, it regulates it to match the setting. In the same way, your subconscious isn't chasing financial freedom, it's maintaining familiarity. If struggle is familiar, then struggle will quietly become your standard. But what if you could change the setting? Here's the truth: most financial breakthroughs don't start with strategy. They start with awareness. You can't outbudget a belief that tells you you're not meant for more. You can't outwork a mindset stuck on survival mode. Rich thinkers know this. That's why they invest just as much in inner upgrades as they do in external gains. They understand that mindset isn't fluff, it's foundation. Take two people with the same income, same expenses, same job title. One thrives. The other barely floats. The difference isn't talent. It's perception. The thriver sees money as a tool. The floater sees it as a threat. One asks, "What can I build?" The other asks, "What can I lose?" Your invisible wallet holds these questions. And questions shape outcomes. This isn't about guilt. You didn't choose your first money script. But you can choose to rewrite it. Every shift starts with a single awareness: my thoughts are not facts, they're programs. And programs can be rewritten. Start noticing the words you use when you talk about money. Catch the flinch when someone brings up investing. Watch how you respond to someone else's wealth. Do you feel inspired or insecure? These reactions are clues. They reveal the balance of your invisible wallet. And once you see it, you can change it. You don't need a raise to feel richer. You need a revelation that your reality is often the mirror of your mindset. Change the input, and the output follows. The invisible wallet doesn't control you. but it does influence every financial choice you make. So before you dive into tactics and budgets and spreadsheets, start here. What do you truly believe is possible for you? Because if you believe wealth is for other people, no plan will override that ceiling. But if you believe wealth starts in the mind, congratulations, you've just unlocked the first deposit. You carry an invisible wallet, your internal beliefs about money. Financial behavior flows from mindset, not just math. Awareness of your money programming is the first step to transformation. Where do your financial beliefs come from, and are they still serving you? Write down 3 money phrases you grew up hearing. Next to each, ask, do I still want to believe this? Chapter 2, Scarcity Script. There's a script running in the background of your mind. You didn't write it, but you've been reciting it for years. It's the voice that whispers, "That's too expensive," before you even check the price. The instinct that tightens your chest when the topic of money comes up. The automatic no when opportunity knocks. That script is called scarcity, and it's been directing your financial story without your permission. Scarcity isn't about how much you have. It's about how little you believe is available. 2 people can look at the same opportunity. One sees risk, the other sees reward. Scarcity convinces you there's never enough, not enough time, not enough money, not enough luck, not enough of you. It doesn't scream. It murmurs. You hear it in phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or, "We can't afford that." You hear it in the tone of envy towards someone else's success, or in the judgment cast on people who spend freely. You even hear it in praise. They're so humble, they never care about money. Scarcity is clever. It disguises itself as virtue. And the longer you rehearse it, the more it becomes reality. What starts as protection becomes a prison. You say no to things not because they're truly out of reach, but because you've never practiced reaching. You settle for less not because you're unworthy, but because you've been taught that asking for more is greedy, unrealistic, or reckless. Scarcity isn't just a mindset. It's a culture. And cultures condition behavior. In a scarcity culture, playing it safe is applauded. Risk is discouraged. Creativity is sacrificed for predictability. The goal is survival, not growth. And the problem is, you can't build wealth while obeying the rules of survival. The blueprint doesn't scale. You may not remember when scarcity's script started. Maybe it came from watching a parent panic over bills. Maybe it came from being told you couldn't have what others did. Maybe it came from years of stretching paychecks so thin you forgot what peace feels like. Wherever it came from, it taught you one thing: to expect less. But here's the truth scarcity won't tell you: the script can be rewritten. You are not bound to the beliefs you inherited. You can question them. You can reject them. And you can replace them with patterns that serve your potential, not your fears. Rich thinkers do this daily. They notice the script and interrupt it. Where others say, "I can't afford that," they ask, "How can I afford that?" Where others say, "That's not for people like me," they ask, "Why not me?" They're not delusional. They're disciplined. They know that every time they confront scarcity, they weaken its grip. Rewriting the script doesn't mean pretending money isn't real or problems don't exist. It means choosing to act from vision, not fear. It means realizing that scarcity shrinks your imagination, and imagination is where all wealth begins. Scarcity can't survive in a mind trained to ask better questions. So start small. When you feel the tug of fear, pause. Ask what belief is hiding behind it. Ask who taught you that belief. Ask whether it still makes sense for who you are becoming. You're not selfish for wanting more. You're not greedy for dreaming bigger. You're simply tired of letting someone else's fears write your future. The script may have started without your consent, but it doesn't have to continue without your awareness. The pen is in your hand now. Scarcity is a mental script rooted in fear, not reality. Most people repeat scarcity out of habit, not truth. Interrupting the script begins with noticing your automatic responses to money. What scarcity phrases or beliefs have you been repeating without questioning? Today, catch one scarcity thought in real time. Pause. Replace it with a possibility-focused question. Chapter 3: The abundance operating system. Every computer runs on an operating system. You don't see it, but it determines what the machine can do. Your mind works the same way. Most people never question the system they're running. They keep installing new apps, budgets, side hustles, money tips, on top of a corrupted base code, scarcity. But if the system is broken, the software can't save you. Abundance is a different operating system entirely. It doesn't deny reality, it reshapes how you respond to it. Where scarcity sees lack, abundance sees possibility. Scarcity says, "There's not enough." Abundance asks, "How can I create more?" This shift isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring financial hardship. It's about upgrading the lens through which you view your life. With abundance, your vision expands. You stop reacting and start designing. Imagine two people facing the same obstacle. One sees it as a wall, the other as a puzzle. Scarcity freezes. Abundance solves. Scarcity shrinks ambition to match resources. Abundance expands resourcefulness to match ambition. You don't have to be wealthy to run the abundance operating system. In fact, most rich thinkers adopted it when they had the least. They weren't surrounded by luxury. They were surrounded by limitation, but refused to let it define them. Abundance is built from three core components: curiosity, possibility, and vision. Curiosity says, "What if there's a better way?" It opens the door to new strategies, people, and paths. Scarcity shuts doors. Curiosity kicks them open. Possibility says, "Why not me?" It rejects the lie that success is reserved for others. It gives you permission to try, fail, learn, and grow. Vision says, "Where I'm going matters more than where I've been." It anchors your decisions in your future identity, not your past results. These aren't just concepts. They're upgrades. And they must be installed intentionally. Abundance doesn't arrive. It's activated. Daily. It shows up in the questions you ask yourself when things go wrong. In the energy you bring to a meeting. In the way you respond to someone else's success. In how you handle rejection or delay. Scarcity turns these into signals to stop. Abundance sees them as invitations to refine. Shifting to abundance doesn't erase fear. It reframes it. Fear becomes feedback. Doubt becomes data. Every no becomes not a dead end, but a detour. The abundance operating system teaches you to play the long game. Scarcity needs quick wins to feel safe. Abundance can endure delay because it trusts the process. Here's the kicker: both scarcity and abundance can be right. If you believe there's never enough, you'll find evidence to support it. If you believe value can be created, you'll find ways to create it. Your mindset doesn't just interpret reality, it helps shape it. Installing abundance begins with awareness. What stories are you telling yourself about money? About your worth? About what's possible for you? Next comes alignment. Are your daily choices reflecting the mindset you claim to believe? It's not enough to think abundance once. It must become your system default. Finally comes action. You must live what you believe. Give before it feels safe. Invest in growth before results show. Speak possibility even when doubt lingers. Abundance isn't an emotion. It's a pattern. A practice. A posture. And once it's installed, you'll notice a shift, not just in how you think about money, but in how you see yourself. Because abundance doesn't just change your bank account. It changes your identity. Your mindset is an operating system. Scarcity and abundance are two very different codes. Abundance begins with curiosity, possibility, and vision, not with external wealth. Installing abundance requires intentional awareness, alignment, and action. Where in your life have you been running on scarcity, and how could abundance reframe it? Pick one challenge today and ask yourself, what's the opportunity hidden in this? Chapter 4: Rewiring Self-Worth. Money doesn't just reveal your net worth, it often reflects your self-worth. You can only receive what you believe you deserve. Not consciously, but subconsciously. That quiet, hidden thermostat buried beneath your drive and ambition controls the upper limit of what you allow yourself to earn, keep, and grow. This is why someone can double their income and still feel broke. It's not the dollars that are missing, it's the inner permission. If your self-worth is tethered to struggle, success will always feel foreign. And what feels foreign eventually gets rejected. Self-worth isn't about ego. It's about identity. It answers the question, what do I believe is possible for someone like me? If the answer is small, safe, or second best, then no external upgrade will ever feel sustainable. You might taste abundance, but you'll sabotage it before it takes root. This is the silent war happening inside many high-potential people. They grind for more while believing they're not enough. They achieve but never arrive. They overdeliver but underreceive. Their self-worth is out of sync with their effort. Rewiring self-worth starts with rejecting the lie that worth is something to be earned. You don't earn your worth by being productive, pleasing others, or hitting financial milestones. You realize it by confronting the false narratives that told you otherwise. Many of those narratives were planted early. A parent who withheld praise. A teacher who made you feel small. A job that treated you as replaceable. These moments wrote scripts that said, be less. Stay quiet. Don't expect much. And without realizing it, you built a life that echoed those messages. But here's the truth, self-worth is not a reward. It's a recognition. You were born with it. And the journey isn't about stacking achievements to prove it. It's about peeling back the layers that buried it. Financial transformation depends on this. Because people with low self-worth tend to undercharge, overextend, and overexplain. They accept less not because they have to, but because they don't believe more is available. Or worse, that they deserve it. Rich thinkers operate differently. They don't tie their value to outcomes. They tie it to identity. They ask not just, what can I earn? But who am I becoming? That shift allows them to negotiate confidently, invest wisely, and say no without guilt. They understand that boundaries are not barriers, they're signals of value. Rewiring self-worth doesn't happen in a single affirmation. It happens in 1,000 micro-decisions, choosing rest over burnout, pricing your work with integrity, declining what drains you, and speaking up when it's easier to shrink. Every act of alignment is a deposit into your internal value bank. There will be resistance. You'll hear the old voices. Feel the old fears. But every time you respond with a new choice, you weaken the old wiring and strengthen the new one. You can't outrun your beliefs. But you can rebuild them. You are not too much. You are not behind. You are not unworthy of wealth, peace, or opportunity. You may have learned to live small, but you can unlearn it. Wealth flows best to those who no longer need it to feel whole. When you know your worth, money becomes a tool, not a measuring stick. You stop chasing approval and start building purpose. And that's when the numbers start catching up to the truth you've finally begun to believe, that you were never lacking, you were just living under a limit someone else set. Now it's your turn to raise the ceiling. Self-worth determines what you allow yourself to receive financially. Worth is not earned through achievement, it's recognized through healing. Rewiring self-worth is the foundation of sustainable abundance. What old messages about your value are still influencing your financial decisions? Identify one area where you've been undercharging, overgiving, or playing small. Make one adjustment today. Chapter 5: Questions Rich Thinkers Ask. Your questions shape your outcomes. Most people don't lack intelligence, they lack powerful questions. Questions are like internal GPS systems. Ask disempowering ones, and you'll drive in circles. Ask better ones, and you'll navigate toward results that once felt out of reach. Scarcity-minded thinkers ask questions rooted in fear and limitation. Can I afford this? What if I fail? Why does this always happen to me? These questions don't open doors. They lock them. They reinforce helplessness, confirm doubt, and keep the mind focused on problems instead of possibilities. Rich thinkers flip the script. They don't avoid questions, they upgrade them. Instead of, can I afford this? They ask, how can I afford this? That small shift invites creativity, strategy, and vision. It turns a dead end into a challenge. It signals the brain to search for options instead of excuses. The mind answers whatever question it's given. Ask it why you're stuck, and it'll list every flaw you've ever had. Ask it how you can move forward, and it will start scanning for solutions you hadn't noticed. The quality of your thinking is revealed by the quality of your questions. Rich thinkers aren't just optimistic, they're intentional. They train their focus. They ask questions that produce clarity, not confusion. Momentum, not paralysis. What's the opportunity here? What can I learn from this person's success? How would my future self handle this? What belief is driving this fear? What's one small step I can take right now? These aren't gimmicks. They're tools. Used consistently, they rewire the mental circuitry that once defaulted to worry and doubt. Even failure is reframed through better questions. Scarcity says, "Why did I mess up again?" Rich thinking asks, "What's the tuition I paid here, and what wisdom did I gain?" One leads to shame. The other leads to strategy. This isn't toxic positivity. It's targeted inquiry. And it works because questions drive focus, and focus drives behavior. You can't control every outcome, but you can control the lens through which you interpret and respond. The beauty of this shift is that it doesn't require wealth to begin. It only requires awareness. You don't need a financial advisor to start asking, "What's the most aligned use of my money today?" You don't need $1 million business to start asking, "How can I multiply what I already have?" You just need to catch yourself in the act of asking small questions, and trade them for bigger ones. This shift is also contagious. The more empowering questions you ask, the more others around you will mirror that energy. Families change. Teams shift. Children learn by watching how you process setbacks and possibility. This is how legacies are shaped, not just by what you teach, but by what you model in the moments that count. Your questions build your mental architecture. Weak questions lead to fragile foundations. Strong questions build resilience, courage, and clarity. So the next time you feel stuck, scared, or small, don't reach for a distraction. Reach for a better question. Ask yourself what a rich thinker would ask. Then answer it with honesty, even if it scares you. Especially if it scares you. That answer could be the key to your next breakthrough. Your questions shape your focus, behavior, and outcomes. Scarcity questions trap you. Abundance questions train you. Asking better questions is a daily practice that rewires your mindset. What recurring questions do you ask yourself, and are they empowering or limiting? Write down one disempowering question you've been asking. Replace it with a possibility-focused version and use it today. Chapter 6: From Consumer to Creator. Every financial decision you make falls into one of two categories: consuming or creating. Consuming takes. Creating builds. One drains resources. The other multiplies them. Most people stay broke not because they're lazy, but because they've unknowingly trained themselves to think like consumers. Consumer thinking is passive. It waits for permission, seeks comfort, and constantly looks outward for validation or stimulation. It's the default mode in a culture built on convenience, entertainment, and comparison. You scroll, click, buy, watch, feeding a cycle that rarely produces anything in return. But creators think differently. They ask, "What can I do with what I have?" Instead of consuming content, they create value. Instead of buying products, they build skills. Instead of spending out of impulse, they invest with intention. The shift from consumer to creator isn't about becoming an entrepreneur. It's about reclaiming agency. It's a mindset, not a job title. When you start thinking like a creator, your relationship with money, time, and energy changes. You stop asking, "What can I get today?" and start asking, "What can I grow today?" This shift doesn't just improve your finances, it rewires your identity. A creator sees money as a tool for expansion, not escape. A consumer sees it as a means of relief. One lives in alignment. The other lives in reaction. You can spot the difference in how they spend. Consumers chase dopamine. Quick fixes. Sales that feel like savings but add no value. Creators spend for return. They invest in skills, tools, mentors, and systems. Every dollar becomes a seed, not a leak. The transition isn't always glamorous. It requires discipline, patience, and sometimes silence, turning off the noise to tune into purpose. But it's in this stillness that clarity grows. Creators learn to delay gratification not out of deprivation, but direction. They know that what they build now will serve them later. Even how you use your time reflects the shift. A consumer binge watches. A creator studies. A consumer reacts to the market. A creator learns how to read it. Every moment becomes a chance to either spend or sell. And make no mistake, this isn't about deprivation. It's about design. You're not being asked to stop enjoying life. You're being invited to redefine enjoyment. Real fulfillment comes not from the thrill of a new purchase, but from the pride of building something meaningful, whether it's a skill, a business, a mindset, or a legacy. Your bank account reflects the patterns you practice. Practice consumption, and your balance shrinks. Practice creation, and your wealth expands even before the dollars catch up. The richest people you admire didn't just save well. They created well. They built something that compounded assets, ideas, impact. And it started with a simple question. What can I offer the world? Not, what can I extract from it? That question changes everything. You may not feel like a creator today. That's okay. Creation starts in the mind long before it manifests in the world. The key is to stop outsourcing your power to products, platforms, or people. You have value right now. The moment you stop scrolling and start building, you activate it. And the more you create, the less you crave. Because the greatest wealth isn't in what you consume, it's in who you become when you decide to create. Consumers spend to escape, creators spend to expand. Creation is a mindset that rewires your relationship with money, time, and energy. Shifting from consumption to creation activates agency and long-term wealth. Where in your life have you been consuming more than creating, and what shift could you make? Choose one area, time, money, or energy, and make one decision today that moves you from consuming to creating. Chapter 7: Mental Filters and Financial Focus. Your brain is a filtering machine. At any given moment, it's bombarded with more information than it can process. So it filters. It decides what to notice, what to ignore, and what to interpret. But here's the catch: those filters aren't neutral. They're shaped by your beliefs, experiences, and identity. And when those filters are warped, your financial reality warps with them. If you believe wealth is corrupt, your filter will highlight every greedy billionaire and shady business deal. If you believe you're not good with money, your filter will magnify every mistake and overlook every win. If you think opportunities are rare, you'll miss the ones right in front of you. Not because they weren't there, but because your filter told you not to see them. This is the unseen sabotage happening every day. People set goals, build vision boards, even take action, yet still feel stuck. The issue isn't effort. It's perception. Your results rise or fall to the level of your mental filter. The brain's filtering system is called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's the part that suddenly notices the car you just bought everywhere on the road. It's not magic. It's focus. And focus is powerful. What you focus on, you feed. What you feed grows. If your RAS is tuned to lack, struggle, or fear, it will collect evidence to support that worldview. That's its job, to confirm what it already believes. But if you shift the input, the filter shifts too. And when the filter changes, your financial experience starts to reflect new patterns, new insights, and new opportunities. This isn't wishful thinking. It's brain mechanics. And the good news is, it can be trained. You can begin by interrupting old patterns of perception. When you find yourself spiraling into never enough, pause. Ask, what else could be true here? Could this setback be redirection? Could this bill be a reminder of what I've already been trusted to manage? Could this delay be building my discipline? The goal isn't to lie to yourself. It's to recondition your lens so it serves your future, not your fear. Rich thinkers don't just think positively, they think precisely. They train their filters to look for opportunity, alignment, and growth. They build a mental environment where possibility feels normal. That doesn't mean they ignore problems. It means they refuse to be ruled by them. The more you practice this, the sharper your focus becomes. You'll start to notice patterns others miss, conversations that open doors, connections that spark ideas, skills you didn't realize were valuable. Your outer world begins to mirror your new inner focus. This practice also protects your energy. When your filter is clear, you don't waste time chasing dead ends or comparing your path to someone else's highlight reel. You move with intention. You make decisions based on vision, not reaction. But just like a window, your mental filter gets dirty. Life smudges it. Fear fogs it. Scarcity stains it. So it must be cleaned regularly, through reflection, new inputs, and aligned action. You can't afford to see the world through a cracked lens. Your future is too important. Clarity creates momentum. And momentum creates results. So before you ask what financial strategy you're missing, ask what filter you've been using. The problem might not be your plan. It might be your perception. Shift the lens, and the landscape changes with it. Your brain filters information based on beliefs, shaping what you see and miss. Financial breakthroughs often require a shift in perception, not just action. Training your focus rewires your filter to align with possibility and clarity. What beliefs have been shaping your mental filter, and what are they filtering out? Choose one limiting belief about money. Write down 3 new interpretations that reframe it toward growth. Chapter 8: Emotional Spending versus Intentional Wealth. Money doesn't just respond to math, it responds to emotion. That's why budgets break, savings vanish, and credit cards swell even when logic says otherwise. The truth is, most people don't spend from need. They spend from feeling. Stress, boredom, loneliness, insecurity, these emotions drive more purchases than strategy ever could. It's called emotional spending, and it's one of the most expensive habits no one talks about. You're not weak for falling into it. You're human. Modern life is engineered to trigger your emotions and monetize your reactions. One ad, one scroll, one click, and you're buying something not because you planned to, but because it promised a momentary escape. A mood boost. A distraction. But emotional spending is a temporary solution with long-term consequences. The package arrives, the feeling fades, and the regret sets in. It's not just the money lost, it's the pattern reinforced. Every impulse purchase teaches your brain, when discomfort rises, buying soothes. And soon your financial life is ruled by emotional reflexes instead of intentional choices. Intentional wealth is the opposite. It's not just about saving money or denying pleasure. It's about understanding the why behind every transaction. It's spending with awareness, alignment, and purpose. Every dollar becomes a decision, not a reaction. This shift requires a deeper level of self-awareness. You have to pause before you swipe. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Is this purchase about solving a problem, or soothing a wound? Am I investing in my future, or avoiding my present? Rich thinkers build emotional literacy around money. They don't just manage numbers, they manage triggers. They know that discipline without self-awareness becomes punishment. So they get curious about their patterns. They track what kinds of situations lead to financial sabotage. They notice when they spend out of fatigue, jealousy, or a need to impress. And most importantly, they create alternative responses. When stress rises, they move their body instead of spending. When insecurity flares, they build a skill instead of buying approval. When loneliness creeps in, they reach out instead of check out. Intentional wealth isn't restrictive, it's rooted. You're no longer at the mercy of every emotional wave. You make choices from a grounded place. You budget for joy, not just survival. You spend on what aligns, not just what numbs. This doesn't mean you never splurge. It means your splurges are conscious, not compulsive. You've replaced autopilot with awareness. There's power in knowing you don't need to spend to feel okay. That your value isn't tied to possessions. That the most abundant version of you isn't chasing temporary highs, but building a long-term foundation. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. The next time you feel that itch to spend, pause. Breathe. Check in. Ask what part of you is seeking relief. Often, it's not the wallet that needs attention, it's the heart. And the more you care for the root, the less you'll reach for the quick fix. Wealth begins when your emotions stop making your financial decisions for you. When your purchases reflect your principles, not your pressure. That's the moment spending becomes sacred, not reactive. And your money starts working for who you're becoming, not who you're trying to escape. Emotional spending is driven by unprocessed feelings, not needs. Intentional wealth comes from awareness, not restriction. Replacing reactive spending with conscious choices builds true financial alignment. What emotions most often trigger your spending, and what do they actually need? Before your next non-essential purchase, pause and ask, is this an investment in who I want to become? Chapter 9: Fail-Forward Finance. Failure with money is not the end of the story, it's part of the tuition. But most people treat financial missteps like permanent stains. They carry shame instead of strategy. They avoid the memory instead of extracting the lesson. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the very growth that failure came to deliver. Financial mistakes are inevitable. You'll overspend. You'll miss a payment. You'll make a bad investment, or trust the wrong advice. These moments hurt, not just in the wallet, but in the ego. But pain isn't the enemy, paralysis is. And nothing creates paralysis faster than fear dressed up as wisdom. The difference between those who build wealth and those who repeat the same cycles isn't intelligence, it's interpretation. Rich thinkers fail forward. They treat losses like laboratories. They ask better questions, study the data, and walk away with sharper instincts. Each setback becomes a stepping stone, not a dead end. Meanwhile, scarcity thinking turns failure into identity. A bounced check becomes I'm bad with money. A missed opportunity becomes I never get it right. One loss becomes a label. And labels limit behavior. Reframing is the key. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what did this teach me? Instead of hiding the wound, examine it. What signs did you miss? What impulse did you follow? What belief drove that decision? The more honest you get, the faster you grow. Failing forward also requires emotional regulation. Shame shuts down the brain's learning center. But curiosity reactivates it. When you approach mistakes without self-judgment, your brain feels safe enough to explore new solutions. This is where resilience is built, not in perfection, but in practice. Every wealthy person has a trail of financial failures behind them. Deals that went south. Ventures that collapsed. Decisions that backfired. But they didn't let those moments define their ceiling. They let them define their standards. And those standards elevated everything that came after. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to normalize failure, not as a destination, but as data. You didn't fail because you're broken. You failed because you tried. And trying is the only bridge between desire and development. This doesn't mean you ignore the consequences. Own them. Clean them up if needed. But don't camp in regret. Use it. Leverage it. Let it sharpen your discernment, refine your habits, and expand your empathy. Failing forward also means adjusting your risk lens. Scarcity tells you to fear every unknown. Abundance reminds you that risk is part of reward. It doesn't promise ease, it promises evolution. You will take hits. That's guaranteed. But how you recover will determine your trajectory. Every time you stand back up, you reinforce a truth deeper than fear. I can handle hard things and grow from them. This mindset builds trust with yourself. And self-trust is the currency of future success. When you know you won't abandon yourself after a loss, you become bolder, more strategic, and more willing to step into opportunity. So the next time you stumble financially, resist the urge to hide or spiral. Pause. Reflect. Learn. Adjust. And move. Don't let the setback write your story. Let it revise your strategy. Failure is not your disqualifier. It's your instructor. And the tuition you've paid in pain can pay dividends in wisdom, if you let it. Financial failure is tuition, not a tombstone. Rich thinkers reframe losses as data for growth. Self-trust and curiosity turn setbacks into stepping stones. What past financial failure have you been avoiding, and what lesson is still hidden inside it? Write down one financial mistake you've made. Then list 3 lessons it taught you that you now carry forward. Chapter 10: Identity-Based Earning. Money follows identity. Not the identity printed on a resume or a business card, but the internal blueprint you hold about who you are and what you're worth. Long-term financial growth doesn't come from chasing new tactics. It comes from embodying a new identity. You don't earn more by doing random things. You earn more by becoming someone who sees, thinks, and acts like a builder. Scarcity says, "What do I need to do to make money?" Identity-based thinking asks, "Who do I need to become for money to flow consistently?" That shift takes you out of hustle mode and into alignment. Because when your internal identity matches your external goals, friction disappears and flow begins. Most people try to change their finances from the outside in. They download apps, cut lattes, pick up side hustles, all useful at times, but unsustainable without identity-level change. If you still see yourself as someone who just gets by, you'll keep finding ways to stay there, no matter how much income you touch. Identity always wins. This is why lottery winners often lose it all. Their bank account changed, but their self-image didn't. The inner thermostat pulled the temperature back to familiar territory. Until you see yourself as someone who builds, stewards, and multiplies, your efforts will always be fighting against your defaults. So how do you shift identity? Not through grand declarations, but through small, consistent alignment. You start by asking, "What would a financially empowered version of me do today?" Then you do it, before you feel ready. You make decisions based on who you're becoming, not who you've been. This could mean raising your rates, even if you're nervous. Saying no to draining opportunities, even if they're familiar. Setting boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. Investing in growth, even when it feels like a stretch. Every time you act from future identity, you reinforce it. And identity reinforced becomes identity realized. Rich thinkers live from their vision, not their history. They reverse engineer behavior from belief. They don't fake it, they frame it. They act in alignment with the version of themselves they are stepping into, not waiting for proof before they move. That alignment also affects how they earn. They no longer chase money randomly. They attract and create income streams that match their values, energy, and strengths. Their work reflects their worth because they chose it from a place of clarity, not desperation. They ask better questions. Not just, "What pays the most?" but "What feels most aligned with who I'm called to be?" That question creates sustainable wealth, not just sporadic checks. This approach also dismantles imposter syndrome. When you're grounded in identity, you don't need to prove yourself, you simply express what's already true. You stop performing and start producing. You trust your voice, your value, and your path. And slowly your results begin to catch up. The goal isn't to pretend. It's to practice. To live today in a way that matches the future you want. Because when your identity leads, your income follows. So if you want to change your financial life, don't just ask what to do. Ask who you're becoming. Then start living like it's already real. Let that version of you make the next decision. Because when you earn from identity, you stop chasing money and start attracting the life you were meant to build. Income rises to the level of identity, not just effort. Future-aligned action reinforces your next-level self. Rich thinkers act from who they're becoming, not who they've been. Who is the version of you that handles money wisely, and how can you act like them today? Choose one decision today, big or small, that your future financial identity would make. Then follow through. Chapter 11: The Rich Reframe. Wealth isn't just built in your bank account, it's built in the way you interpret your life. That's the final shift rich thinkers make. They reframe everything. Setbacks become signals. Delays become development. Challenges become chapters in a larger story of growth. They don't pretend things are perfect. They just refuse to give struggle the final word. This is the rich reframe. A mental framework that turns every moment into raw material for expansion. It's not about denying pain or hardship. It's about deciding what it means. Scarcity gives moments a verdict. This is failure. This is proof. This is the end. But abundance asks, what else could this be? A bad investment becomes a masterclass in discernment. A job loss becomes a forced redirection toward alignment. A tight season becomes a pressure chamber that builds new skills. Nothing is wasted, not because life is easy, but because your mind has been trained to extract value from every experience. This reframe creates unshakable resilience. When you know you can turn any mess into meaning, you no longer fear the unknown. You stop avoiding discomfort and start welcoming refinement. You become the kind of person who can be trusted with more, because you've proven you can handle less without losing focus. This isn't theory. It's a daily practice. When the unexpected hits, you pause and ask, what narrative am I assigning to this moment? Then you choose a new one. One that empowers, not paralyzes. Rich thinkers don't just reframe pain, they also reframe possibility. They stop asking if they're worthy and start asking what's next. They don't view abundance as a lucky break, they see it as a natural response to alignment. They walk into rooms like they belong, not because of arrogance, but because they've trained their mind to expect growth, not exclusion. They view their past with compassion, their present with power, and their future with clarity. That's not just mindset. That's mastery. The rich reframe also applies to how they view money itself. It's not a source of stress. It's a tool for purpose. It's not about hoarding, it's about stewarding. Money isn't the goal. It's the amplifier. And when your internal world is strong, money only makes it stronger. If you've come this far, you already know, your thoughts shape your outcomes. But it's not just positive thinking that makes the difference, it's powerful framing. The ability to choose the lens through which you view your circumstances. The old frame said, I'm stuck. I'm behind. I'm not enough. The rich frame says, I'm evolving. I'm learning. I'm building something real. And that's the invitation, to take everything you've absorbed from this book and reframe how you move forward. This is not the end of a chapter. It's the beginning of a new strategy, a new identity, a new reality shaped by thought patterns that serve your goals instead of sabotage them. From now on, you don't just react, you reframe. You don't just think, you build. You don't just survive, you create. Because the moment you choose the rich reframe, your entire financial trajectory shifts. Not because the numbers changed, but because you did. Reframing is the skill of interpreting every moment in a way that fuels growth. Rich thinkers reframe both failure and success to align with possibility. The way you frame your story determines your financial trajectory. What's one situation you've labeled as failure that you can now reframe as growth? Choose one current challenge and write a new, empowering interpretation. Let it guide your next action. Take care and be well.